How's it going, my Halloween bakers? Hope you're ready for some spooky baking. In today's video, we are making a beautiful cherry tomato and charcoal flatbread. So let's get in the kitchen and get started. A jet black bread can look quite strange to some people. Every time I have given a bread made with charcoal to an unsuspecting bread lover, they have given it a worried stare. We never see bread this way. It seems like it should not look like this. And that shock factor is exactly what I love about it. The best part is that it tastes no different from regular bread. Charcoal has no flavor. It only adds a beautiful black color. This will be a great Halloween recipe. You can surprise your family and friends with this crazy looking delicious bread. And of course it's super easy to make. So let's get right into it. Let me show you how it's done. Starting with the ingredients. We'll need some white bread flour, whole wheat bread flour for extra flavor, yeast, salt, some activated charcoal powder, and water. We'll also need some olive oil and some toppings. I'll be using cherry tomatoes and basil. But you can top this flatbread with whatever you like. Treat it like a focaccia, or even like a thick pizza. This is the activated charcoal powder that I'm using. It's made from coconut. You can find activated charcoal in my Amazon storefront, but your local supermarket might stock it too. It is generally used for alleviating belly aches in the case of food poisonings and such, and it is totally safe to consume for almost everyone. This recipe contains a very small dose, but if you are on certain medications, you may want to consult your doctor just in case. As for the equipment, we'll need a bowl, scales, a dough scraper, a temperature probe, and a baking tray. I'm using my Lloyd's Pans pizza pan, because I like the nice straight edges it gives my bread. But you can use any tray you like. Okay, let's start making our dough, and all begins with temperature control. My kitchen is around 23 degrees Celsius or 73 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm just using water that I have left out at room temperature. Get a large bowl, pour the water into it, add the yeast, the salt, the activated charcoal, the whole wheat flour, and the olive oil, and give it all a good mix. Then add the white bread flour, grab your dough scraper and mix it to a dough. We're looking for a final dough temperature of around 23 to 25 degrees Celsius. We will be cold fermenting this dough, so if your dough tones are warmer, don't worry about it. But if it's cooler, I would suggest leaving it out at room temperature before placing it in the fridge for around 30 minutes. You can of course make this dough and bake the bread on the same day if you like. In which case I would suggest giving it an hour and a half to 2 hours of bulk fermentation, and give it a couple of folds at equal intervals. This dough is quite loose and sticky, so it needs a bit of attention. It is much easier when you're cold fermenting it. Okay, after mixing, the dough goes in the fridge for 30 minutes to cool down. And once the timer is up, we'll take it back out and give it one fold. This will give the dough some structure and also help it cool down more evenly. To perform the fold, wet your hands with water, pick the dough up and then fold the sides of the dough down and push them back up into the center of it. Keep doing this until you have a nice tight dough ball. Place the dough back into the bowl, cover it up, place it in the fridge for the long cold fermentation of 18 to 24 hours. And this is how it should look on the next day, nice and puffy. We can move on straight to the final shaping. Grab your baking tray, pour some olive oil into it and spread it out. The final shaping goes exactly the same way as the fold that we performed earlier. Wet your hands with water, pick the dough up and fold it up nice and tight. Then place it into the middle of the tray, pour some more olive oil onto it and spread it out all over the surface of the dough. The olive oil will prevent the dough from drying out, so there's no need to cover it for the final proof. The final proofing time will depend on the temperature of your kitchen. My kitchen was still around 23 degrees Celsius or 73 degrees Fahrenheit, and final proof took around an hour and a half to 2 hours. Once the dough is doubled in size, it's ready for the oven. During the final hour of fermentation, you want to preheat your oven to 210 degrees Celsius, fan on, and that'll be 410 degrees Fahrenheit. If your oven doesn't have a fan, turn it up to 230 Celsius or 445 Fahrenheit. You should always adjust the temperature by about 10% when switching from fan on to fan off. Having the fan on makes it essentially hotter. Here, once the dough is nicely proofed, we can gently stretch it out to make it fit the tray. Again, to prevent your hands from sticking, you can wet them with water or you can just rub them with some olive oil. I decided to try something different with the toppings here. I combined each cherry tomato with a leaf of basil, and I put the basil underneath the cherry tomato so it doesn't burn. No matter which toppings you decide to use, be sure to press them in properly. Make sure you hit the tray. Once you have finished decorating your bread, press the toppings in one more time to really make them stay there. Okay, there are just a couple things left to do. Give it another splash of olive oil and sprinkle some sea salt on top. I did use slightly less salt in the dough to allow us to put more salt on top. Okay, this baby is ready for the oven, so let's get it in there. It should not take more than 20 minutes to fully bake. Of course it's a bit hard to tell because the dough is black. But you know, if you end up burning it a little bit, at least nobody will realize. I guess the cherry tomatoes are a good indicator. Once they start getting dark, you know the bread's close to be done. And there you have it. That's how you make a beautiful black charcoal cherry tomato flatbread. I like to brush it with some more olive oil to make it really shiny. It makes the black color pop. This bread has such a beautifully soft texture. I don't know what it is about charcoal, but it just makes the bread dough so much looser and stickier. It has a weakening effect on gluten for sure, but as a result we get extra soft bread out of it. If you are planning to use charcoal in some other recipe, I would suggest lowering the hydration a little bit, or else the bread might turn out a little bit flatter than you expected. Okay, we've done the flatbread, but the video is not over yet. I decided to try something else, little individual breads. I'm using half the quantity of the dough that we used earlier. It was also cold fermented. Now I've given it a fold, or the final shape I guess, after which I'm dividing it and placing it in individual muffin tins. Just as with the flatbread earlier, I poured a little bit of oil in each tin. And that is not because I'm expecting the dough to stick. It's only because I like a little bit of extra olive oil in breads like these. Okay, let's cover these bad boys up and leave them for the final proof, which took around an hour and a half. The dough is smaller, so it warmed up quicker. That's why it rose sooner. This time I decided to decorate it slightly differently, with some cherry tomato quarters and a little bit of mozzarella. It might look a little bit random right now, but wait until you see what they look like once they come out the oven. Okay, just as previously, after adding all the toppings, I'm giving it a little sprinkle of sea salt and a little glug of olive oil. And these little bad boys are ready for the oven now. And of course, because they are smaller, they will take less time to bake. Around 15 minutes will do. Once the cherry tomatoes start becoming a bit wrinkly, you know they're ready. So let's get them out, leave them to cool down and see what we got. They still look a little bit abstract, but wait until we remove them from the tins. And this is what I was getting at. They look like tortured little faces. Definitely perfect as a little Halloween snack. They look like they're in pain, so let's just end their suffering and eat them. They may look a little bit scary, but they are super delicious. So what do you think of this recipe? Have you ever used charcoal in bread making or cooking? Let me know down in the comments. If you want to see more videos like this one, click over here. Subscribe to the channel, click right here. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.